Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of Unscripted Let's Talk. This is Mary Eggleston, and today I'm going to talk about the child within and how to encounter that child within you, whom you need to now approach with more compassion and love and to embrace, so that you aren't standing really against yourself, which is, for most of us, outside of our own value system, where we would judge a child within us so harshly, but we would never judge another child in that way, as I talked about in episode 17. So I'm going to start with a couple of Sesame Street stories that I think are especially relevant to today's topic. One of them comes from a woman I worked with years ago, an elderly woman who had had a painful, difficult life. And she came to me and she said, I want to talk with someone because I'd like someone to know who I am and what life has been like for me before I die. I'd like someone to actually really know me before I die. So that, of course, was pretty powerful for me to have somebody come and say that to me. She then told me a story over time, and I helped her tell the story, of course, of being mistreated by her mother, by her father, physically, psychologically, emotionally abused, neglected, and growing up to marry a man who did not physically abuse her, but psychologically it was difficult to be married to him. She raised her family of I think she had 5 or 6 children, and it was a struggle every day to not bring what had been true for her and visit it upon her children. She focused very hard to be truly present for her children and make sure that they were not mistreated. She told me one day when we were talking, she said, there was this story, this scene that they showed on Sesame Street. And when I think of it, it always makes me cry. It's just really, really significant to me. And I don't know why. And she said, is that just so silly? I mean, that's just so silly. And I said, no, I have a Sesame Street story too. And so we agreed we would tell each other our Sesame Street stories that had been really meaningful moments in our lives. So she went first. And she said she was watching Sesame Street with her kids. And she said the camera on Sesame Street, the picture was of a flower, a beautiful flower. And she said, and then as you watched, the camera pulled out and scanned the area around the flower. And what you saw was that the flower was in a garbage dump. And she started to cry as she told me this. And she said, I don't know why it hits me that way. Why does it affect me like that? And by now, of course, I'm choked up too. And I looked at her and I said, it's because you're the flower. Here's this flower. Think about this. The flower doesn't know that he or she is a flower. All around me is garbage, mean people, nasty people, kind of low-life people, insensitive, uncaring, crude. How would I know I'm a flower when I'm surrounded by that? And so it was another time for me to say, I can see you. I can see who you are, and that you are not the garbage that was all around you. So then it was my turn. And my story, my Sesame Street story, is when my oldest son was about 3.5, and I thought it would be fun to take him to Sesame Street Live. And I thought, well, maybe this will be good, or maybe it'll be really lame. I don't know. And I want you to know, Sesame Street Live is so worth it. It was just absolutely great. So we went to it, and he's sitting on my lap, and the story in this performance of Sesame Street Live was how Big Bird had lost his mojo. He didn't know who he was. He couldn't figure out if he had a purpose anymore, if his life had any meaning. He just was unsure of himself, a little insecure, uncertain. And the whole show is about how do we help Big Bird remember who he is and remember that he's important and he's of value and of worth. And they were trying all these different things. And I'm watching this just thinking, this is amazing. This is really good. Everybody should be here watching this. This is amazing. And then at the end, the last song, when the Sesame Street characters had truly discovered what they could do for Big Bird, it started with one character coming out as Big Bird stood on the stage looking just sad, carrying a candle, and the song was about if just one person believes in you. And then as it went along, each of the characters came out, and the song would say, and another. If just one person believes in you, you can remember who you really are. So my son is transfixed and kind of like humming along, and I am sobbing. Just tears streaming down my face, thinking the whole world should be watching this. And of course, as I told my client my Sesame Street story, we both acknowledged that hers was touching on her story, and of course mine was touching on mine. I mean, it touched me so deeply because that is what I had needed when I was a child. Just one person to believe in me so that I could remember and know who I was, who I am. I mean, this is what we all need. Someone who believes you and believes in you and can see that you are a flower growing perhaps in a garbage dump, and to help you move as that flower to be with the other flowers. So that leads me into doing the imagery with you now of the inner child. And this imagery can be one where you might encounter this aspect of yourself, and maybe you won't like him or her because you were so taught to believe that there was something wrong with you, something truly defective, that there was a reason that you were ignored or mistreated. And I want you to be aware of that. And hopefully I can talk with you as you do this so that you can get a little bit closer to embracing and loving the small child within you who is carrying your pain, your history, your story, who in many ways, of course, emerges as the shadow self, the Jungian shadow self, which is so famous and acts out from time to time, which is actually the wounded self, which is so much about this child. So take a breath, get in a comfortable position, close your eyes, and begin to relax and calm yourself. Take a breath in and let that breath out. And just follow your breath for a while. Breathing in and breathing out. And allow your mind to go quiet. If thoughts come into your mind, let them come and let them pass. Try not to struggle with them. As you refocus your thoughts again on your breathing. Now in your mind's eye, I would like you to picture a beautiful light that surrounds you. And in this light, are the qualities of peace, safety, and love. And as you breathe in the qualities of the light. And there's plenty. There's all that you want, all that you need as you breathe in the light. Now, in your mind's eye, I'd like you to picture yourself getting up and discovering a hallway that perhaps you haven't noticed before. And you begin to walk down this hallway until ahead of you, you see a door. And it is a beautiful door, a magnificent door. And it feels right. So you walk up and you open it. And across the threshold, you see a landing that is at the top of a spiraling staircase. And you cross the threshold and stand on this landing at the top of this staircase. And you notice that the light has stayed with you and continues to be with you throughout this entire imagery. And so you begin to walk down the spiraling staircase, down and down and down, until you get to the bottom of the spiraling staircase, where ahead of you, you see another door. And it feels right and safe, and so you open it. And on the other side of this door is a beautiful meadow. And you walk on into the meadow and begin to walk in this meadow. And it is a perfect day. And as you walk in this meadow, you take in the sights and the sounds and the smells of this meadow on this perfect day. And now you glance up into the sky, where you see a cloud, the most beautiful, bright cloud that you've ever seen. And it's fairly high up in the sky, but as you watch it, it starts to lower itself down closer to the ground. And it's a safe distance away as you watch this incredible cloud lower itself to the ground until, again, a safe distance away from you, it is settling onto the ground. And as you watch this cloud, it starts to open. And you begin to see the outline of a child. You see the head, the hands, the turn of the cheek, the nose, the little feet of a child within this cloud. And take some time to notice this child. taking in how old the child is, what the child is doing. And at this point, the child does not notice you. Now, if it feels right, you can begin to walk towards the child in the cloud with an intention of greeting and getting to know this child. If it's not right yet, stand, and if you're struggling with compassion and love for this child, perhaps allow a loving presence to come and stand with you as you notice the child. And simply stay in that place because that's right for you. If you are able to walk towards the child, do so. And when you're close enough, allow the child to notice you. And it's possible that the child knows who you are. But if for some reason this child does not know who you are, you'll need to tell them. And engage in some gentle conversation, some gentle back and forth with this little person. Maybe they're playing something and you could join in. Maybe they're reading something and you can read it too. Whatever they're doing, join with the child now. And spend some time listening to, talking with, getting to know who this child really is. Do that now. Truly spend some time with this tender, vulnerable part of you. Now, as you do this, it may start to feel that it would be safe and right for you to bring this child back with you. If it feels that way, check with the child and see how they feel about it. Talk it over with them. That they could come and actually be a part of you in an intentional way. If that doesn't feel right, that's okay. If the child is not able to come with you, they can enter back into the cloud where they're safe. but perhaps the child can come with you. In which case, take their hand and walk with the child back through the meadow, away from the cloud. No matter what decision you've needed to make, it's the right decision for you today. And always you will have the chance to come back again. So perhaps it's just the cloud, or perhaps the child is within the cloud, safe and secure. Watch now as the cloud wraps itself back together and gently lifts back into the sky. And in turn and continue to walk through the meadow on this beautiful day. You might be alone, reflecting on what you have learned. You may have the child by the hand, or you may be carrying the child as you move back towards the door. And you cross the threshold and stand at the bottom of the spiraling staircase, where again you realize that the light is still with you. And you begin to climb the spiraling staircase, up and up and up. Until you get to the top on the landing. And that magnificent door is right there. And you open it, and you walk through down the hallway where you return to where you were sitting before. Now, if the child is with you, put your arms around that child and allow the child to melt into a special place in your heart, where the child can live safely forever, protected by an adult who truly loves him or her and will care for the child. And breathe. And follow your breath. Breathing in and breathing out, calming your mind. You may want to write some things down about this experience, and I hope that you have someone in your life that you can talk to about this, about what this means to you. This is something that I did in my own life many years ago. It was very meaningful for me, as I hope that it is for you. And as always, live your life with passion, purpose and intention. Until next time.